Hey there, writers. It is Friday afternoon. I know I've been kind of missing this week, but I want to make sure that I got in a video real quick before the end of the week. So I've been thinking about your audience and why they are so important when you're writing a book. You always have to think about your audience before you even write a single word of your book. And why is that? Because if your audience isn't connecting with what you're writing, then they aren't going to want that book. It's not going to help them. It's not going to resonate with them. It's going to be all wrong. So I was reminded of this kind of funny story. It's a little off topic, but I think it proves the point. When I used to work for the government, I was a contract writer for the Department of Energy, and before that, the Department of Justice. And they would give us these hilariously awful reviews every few months. And you'd have to go through and fill it out. How do I think I did? 3, clear down through. How do I think, or, my boss would go down through, how do I think Corey did? And, mark stuff off. They wanted you to mark a 3 on everything, which I thought was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The ratings were 1 through 5. So they wanted everybody to be average. They wanted you to be meeting expectations. That's what number 3 was. Now, if you're writing a book, yes, you should meet expectations, but your goal should be to exceed the expectations. You should meet the expectation of the audience, and you should go above and beyond. You should actually give a little extra when you're writing the book. And why this story was so funny was that I would go down through this and think, oh my God, I have to waste my time doing this. 1. 2, I feel like I'm exceeding expectations in a lot of these areas. And every year for 10 years, I marked a 5 on dresses appropriately because I felt like I was going above and beyond. I wasn't just throwing on any shirt and any pants and showing up at work. My outfits were amazing, and I loved getting dressed for work. In fact, there were many days when that was the best part of going to work, which is why I'm doing this now. So I felt like I was exceeding expectations. Every year I marked a 5 in that category. And every single year, my boss would look at it and just mark a 3. We never talked about it. They just always marked a 3. So clearly they had a different idea of what expectations were, or they just didn't care. So this is why your audience is so important. I was trying to push on them that I'm going above and beyond in this category, and that didn't matter to them. They didn't really care. All they cared about was that I was showing up and doing my work. So how do we relate that to your book? Whenever you sit down to write a book, I want you to think about your audience. Think about what their expectations are for this book. What do they need to get out of this book? What problem are you solving with this book? That's the first thing you have to think about. And if you aren't sure, you can ask your audience. You can send out a poll to your list. You can put something on Facebook. You can say, what is your greatest challenge with this? What are you struggling the most with right now? You have to ask specific questions when you're trying to figure out what their problems are, because if you just say, hey, what do you need help with? You might just hear crickets. People might say, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good. But if you say, what are your struggles? What are your challenges? What about this area? Are we having trouble getting from point A to point B? And then sometimes people will say, yeah, I'm really having trouble with Facebook marketing, or yeah, I'm really having trouble sticking to my budget on advertising, or, I'm really having trouble getting people in my coaching group to speak up and talk during the call. Those are things that the audience would need to know. Hey, how do I do this? And you could be the person who helps them out. Some other great ways to find out what your audience needs: go on Amazon and search for some of the books that are in your genre. And you can actually read the reviews and see what the book does well, what the book doesn't do well. You can see from the reviews what the audience was expecting out of that book. And you may be able to either fill in the gap or have a different perspective on it, or maybe even do it better. So whenever you sit down, think about that audience, their expectations. I just wanted to do a quick video, but if you have questions about this or if you want to talk about it, go ahead and drop something in the comments. Otherwise, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you guys next week.